Welcome to our third and final part of the three-part series of the Council at Large Candidate Forum. I will be your moderator for this afternoon. As moderator, I will strictly enforce the time allotted to each candidate, maintain decorum and discipline. The order of the forum is as follows. Each candidate will have 5 minutes to present their opening statements, and it will be done in alphabetical orders. Each candidate will be permitted to ask the other candidates 3 questions in only 1 round. This responding candidate will have 2 minutes to answer to the response. There will be absolutely no rebuttal by any candidates, whether you are the one asking or responding to the question. Candidate will also have 5 minutes to wrap up or give his closing remarks. I am accompanied today by our municipal clerk, Ms. Sonia Gordon, who will be our timekeeper, and 2 of her staff members, Ms. Joan Campbell Douglas and Ms. Paula Ruse. Thank you all for participating, and we will now begin the forum. I will begin with our first candidate, Flavio Rivera, who will introduce himself and present his opening remarks. Mr. Rivera, please.
Good afternoon to all the viewers. I want to thank you for putting this forum together, Madam President and Madam Clerk. To the viewers, I want to thank you for taking the time to do your research and make an informed decision, an important decision, because we as council members make decisions that affect you on a daily basis. For those who don't know much about me, as stated previously, my name is Flavio Rivera. I am currently your county treasurer. I've been your county treasurer for about 3 years. I've been attending council meetings for approximately 12, 13 years, where I've seen a lot of things go on that should not go on in city government. I decided to run because we cannot continue to do business the way we've been doing business in this city. Throughout times, I have seen many irresponsible budgets being approved. I will go up in the podium and, to basically inform the council of all these areas that are, overstated, given that this is what I do every day for a living, being county treasurer and being one of the 2 certified municipal finance officers in the city of Paterson. Those irresponsible budgets that I just mentioned continue to have tremendous tax increases, but not just the tax increase. It didn't reflect the services that we all deserve as residents, and we have to change that culture that we have here. In order to understand what has happened in the city, you got to understand the history, which as stated I have by watching all these meetings throughout all these years. I don't want to keep reminding you about bad news, but I wonder if you guys remember the 29% tax increase that we had a few years back, where we had to lay off 400 staff members, of which 125 were police officers. In order to know what actually took place, you got to understand how government finance works, which I have 14 years. I knew that was going to take place because the mechanism that was used, the method in which the previous year budget was used, led to that 29% increase. I also remembered in 2016 how the council at the time asking the administration to reduce a tax levy that the residents could no longer absorb. And my opinion, and this is my opinion, it turned into a political thing, because when you have almost a $300 million budget and the council asks you, the administration, to reduce a budget because our taxpayers are being overtaxed, and you decide to cut $200,000 from a recreational budget and end the summer program for recreation 2 weeks early, that is just bad practice. It is bad. It's not good for the community. It's just bad. Under our former government, I hear council all the time stating that they're just the legislative body. But we're not just the legislative body. We could also take alternative and measures. Under a former government, we could actually change any line item in the budget that we wish. So knocking on doors out there and talking to people, I notice how a lot of the ordinances don't get enforced. That leads to dirty streets. We have to change the culture. Dirty streets. We have an issue with public safety in the city. Our resources need to be monitored from the council end also. Yes, the administration is responsible for putting the budget together and every other financial tool that we have in place, but it is the responsibility of the council to approve those budgets. The budget, I can continue to say throughout the years, the budget is not just dollars and cents. It determines the level of service that we're going to be providing to our residents. I notice when you start looking at different cities, how we pay as much tax as any other city, but we don't get the services that we deserve here. We don't get the same level of services as other cities. And we need to start demanding more as residents and as council members. I promise you, when elected, I'm going to take a proactive approach. I'm going to use the 14 years of experience that I have working with municipal budgets and having a broad understanding of everything related to city government. And I'm going to start working with the rest of the council and the administration to make sure that the decisions we make is in the best interest of the community, leaving politics aside. I've shown that throughout the years, coming here to the council meetings, doing extensive research. I will use every ounce of knowledge that I have, that I've gained through my work experience and through watching these council meetings and through the research that I have done throughout the years to make sure the city moves in the right direction. After analyzing the current budget that we have currently, we have increased our debt from $8 million to $16 million in 4 years. So where are the check and balances? I'm running because we need check and balances in government, and I'm going to be that candidate that bring that forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Rivera. Our second candidate will be Davon Roberts, who will introduce himself and present his opening remarks. Mr. Roberts.
Good afternoon, Paterson. My name is Davon Roberts, 14B on your ballot. Born and raised here in the city of Paterson's 4th Ward, where I attended public school number 6, and later I attended high school at Passaic County Tech. From Tech, I went on to earn my bachelor's degree in finance from the University of Connecticut, and later on I received my master's in business administration from the University of Hartford. I'm currently in my 3rd year at Rutgers Law School. I have 11 years of corporate experience in financial reporting, consulting, and currently I'm a risk manager for a company called Rico USA. I am a trustee with the St. Luke Baptist Church, again over in the 4th Ward, where I am also a youth leader. I'm the treasurer of the St. Luke Community Development Center, which operates an after-school program, women's transitional house, a computer lab, literacy projects, and this summer we hope to revamp the Freedom School. I am a homeowner here in the city of Paterson on the same block that I grew up on. So I very much understand the concerns that many of you have about the financial instability that we have faced here in the city, and I'm personally invested in changing the direction in that area. I also understand firsthand the quality of life concerns that the drugs and the violence that have plagued our city. I believe that the city is at a crossroads. It is a place where many of the residents are tired of empty promises, sound bites, corruption, and waiting for things to get better. Many residents have already decided to vote with their feet and leave this city in hopes of a safer, cleaner, more affordable, and less frustrating environment. Others have been forced out due to the inability to keep up with tax burdens that become heavier and heavier every year. As costs increase, many are asking where are the services and why their quality of life continues to decrease. While we all have our individual lives and our unique concerns, no one should have to leave where they're from in order to live a better life. I believe that the path forward of this city is to make the city safer, make it cleaner, and as a result, make it more desirable for both residents and visitors that come into the city. We need to make this place a place where our parks are clean, and those places are safer for children to play. A place where our neighborhoods are walkable, and where we have a peace of mind that we are safe at home. A place where we don't have to dodge potholes all the time or put bars on our windows when we go to sleep at night. Only then can we drive economic development, which leads to employment, investment, higher property values, and ultimately more revenue for the city to provide the services that we so desperately want and need. In the meantime, we need to better manage what we have and focus our resources in putting us on the right path for the future. The City Council's role is to make the laws and approve the budget to help further the goals of the city. That budget is where we set the direction of the city, and we must elect people who have the necessary skills and experience in order to do so. For every idea that's been put forward throughout the months leading up to this election, and that you've heard over the last couple of days, and I'm sure that you'll hear today, you need to ask yourselves, who is going to pay for some of the things that are discussed? Are these actual plans, or are these things that just sound good? Do the people who are putting these things forward have the actual experience necessary to order to say some of the things that they're saying? I look forward to the discussion with the other candidates here tonight. My name is Davon Roberts. I'm 14B on your ballot. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Roberts. We will now have our third candidate, Mr. Juan Mitch Santiago. Will you please begin your opening remarks, Mr. Santiago?
Good afternoon. Thank you for the opportunity, Madam Clerk and Council President Ruby Cotton. Thank you very much. And for the ladies that are sitting back there, phenomenal job you ladies be doing in the office. I've been seeing that. And credit should be given where credit is due. My name is Juan Mitch Santiago. I've been working for the city of Paterson for over 33 years. Passaic County Sheriff for over 10 years. I started as security. From security, I went to investigator. I did patrol, and then I got promoted to narcotics. I'm a father of 11, 7 children, 7 girls, really. Father of 11, 7 girls, 4 boys, 6 grandchildren. And life just doesn't stop. It continues going. I'm proud that for the age of me being 53, my kids got me running and my grandbabies all over the place. I worked in a juvenile detention facility. I was a juvenile detention officer. I was elected to the school board 3 times. Vice president 2 times, president of the board 1 time. The reason that I'm running is because everybody in this city is just totally fed up. I'm fed up. This election is a very, very, very high-profile election. Everybody's watching this. We had numerous individuals that got picked up, numerous individuals that have gone to jail, and from one title, now they became cooks in the jail. That's what they're doing. They're cooking in the jail. And I believe, and I can't say any names, but we still have more. We still have more in different offices that are doing the same thing because they haven't learned their lesson towards what's going on throughout the city. And of course, we have even elected officials that are still doing the same thing. And it's not a female or females. But sooner or later, the light comes out. You can't cover the world with your hand because the truth, one way or the other, is going to come out. We got potholes problems in the city of Paterson, to all fairness to the department, which those are my brothers and my sisters, the lowest pay within the whole state of New Jersey, the lowest pay. But they try to work hard, diligent. With 1 truck for 6 wards, you really can't get the job done. Some of the administrators that are working within this city, they shouldn't be here any longer. What they should start looking for another job. Get your resume together. The city of Paterson had enough of you, had enough of this corruption that's going on. Get a job, just get out of here. We have well-qualified people within this city that could fulfill a lot of these jobs. We got well-qualified people here. We need to give people opportunities. Thank you. God bless. Let's move this city forward. Enough is enough.
Thank you, Mr. Santiago. And our 4th candidate that's coming up, Mr. Zelly Thomas, will introduce himself, present his opening remarks. Mr. Thomas.
Yes, thank you. Good afternoon. I first want to thank God for allowing me to be here and bringing me this far. I also want to thank Madam President and Madam Clerk for allowing us into this really sacred space, the City Council chambers. My name is Zelly Thomas. I'm a lifelong resident of Paterson, New Jersey. I'm a community organizer, and a proud Paterson public school teacher. I'm 1B on the ballot. I'm first on the ballot. I want to be first on your hearts and minds as you go into the voting booth and make an important decision about who is going to represent you on the city council. I want to be first on your hearts and minds, just as the children of Paterson and the community is on my mind and my heart every single waking day. I'm deeply committed to protecting our residents and protecting our community through advocacy, education, and legislation. Paterson is a place of so much promise and potential. But when government doesn't put residents first, we see blight and despair. When government doesn't put children first, we see a lack of education and a lack of recreation. Our children and our residents deserve so much more. Our children can't go to school if they're dead. And our young women and men can't go to work if they're in jail. We have community members who have to make this tough decision every single month of whether to pay rent or buy groceries. And in the streets, everyone is asking, where are our leaders? Where is the leadership? And my reply is, right here. The leadership is right here. And I plan to lead again with advocacy, education, and legislation. That's something that's so much missing from the city council. One of the things that I'm a strong advocate for is fair and affordable housing. I deeply believe that housing is a human right. Everyone deserves access to a safe, healthy, and quality home, regardless of their race, creed, income, or zip code. Currently, Paterson is the second highest house burden city in the state of New Jersey. Over 44% of renters in Paterson pay more than half of their income on housing costs and utilities. Who's protecting our residents here in Paterson? I came up with a policy platform to start to move us forward in order to give those types of protections. One, I want to amend our current rent level control board in order to reduce the allowable annual increase. I want to revive the tenant advisory board so that tenants have a place to go and complain about the conditions in their units and their apartments. I also want to provide foreclosure prevention counseling to protect our homeowners, and that will be funded through community block development grants. Paterson should be a place that is thriving. Our children and our residents deserve a community that is safe and thriving. And we can't do that just by talking or just by showing up at different places, but we can only do that through education, by educating our community members, through advocacy and legislation. I commit myself to being an advocate, not just in the streets, but in the boardroom for you, because this is all about you. So please remember me as someone that is going to fight for you day in, day night. I'm your brother, I'm your son, I'm your friend, and I'm here for you. And I'm 1B on the ballot, I'm first on the ballot. My name is Zelly Thomas. Together, we are stronger.
Thank you, Mr. Thomas. We will now begin our second round, which is for the Council at Large candidate forum, which is the question and answer portion. And we will start with Mr. Rivera to be the first one. Before you begin, Mr. Rivera, just remind the candidates that you have 2 minutes to respond to the question. Thank you.
How you doing? To the candidates, just want to remind the public the questions I'm about to ask is not addressed at a specific candidate. I don't feel I'm running against anyone. We're just here to, present our platform. There is 3 positions available, and we just want the residents to make, the best informed decision they can make. So all of my questions are going to be addressed to all 3. So if elected, you will be making decisions that affect, basically on behalf of all of us, the residents, which affect all of our lives. So the first question is, what are the 3 legal ways Remember, you will be making decisions, so you gotta understand the resources. What is the 3 legal ways a government entity like this is able to spend money? 3 legal ways.
Begin with Mr. Roberts.
I'm not super sure I understand the question. What's the 3 legal ways that a government can spend money?
I'll give you the first answer if it's okay. It is a tough question. The first one is through the budget, right? That gives the authority to the council and the mayor to spend money. There is 2 other resources that are out there.
Okay, so so this is technically it's a trick question, but the way that anybody spends money is obviously through payments of whatever needs to be paid. Now, the budget the budget sets the direction for the city. Nothing is actually paid off of the budget. The budget gives the resource. The budget are just line items that gives the administration the ability or the guidelines in terms of what they should pay or what they shouldn't pay. Now, that's the reason why we've had so many issues in the past with such things as transitional aid. When the budget doesn't match up with what's actually spent, that's when you have an issue to where you need the state to come in and provide transitional aid. So when you ask what are the 3 legal ways in order to pay bills, I'm not real sure that that's actually an answer to that question, because it is the budget. You mentioned that the budget was the first way in order to pay bills. No, the budget is the guideline that's set forward in order for the administration to be able to figure out what it is they can spend and what they shouldn't spend. And every year they go over that budget, which is why you need transitional aid. Thank you.
The next question, you're not going to rebuttal.
No, it's not a rebuttal.
No.
I would not do that. I got to rephrase the question. Because,
Okay, rephrase it.
Yeah,
for
rephrase it, the
Mr.
same line.
Santiago.
Yes,
For
I
Mr.
never said, never said, the question was never, I used the word, the 3 legal ways of spending money in city government. What are they? I gave you the first one, which is through
Mr.
the
Rivera,
budget.
you said it already.
Okay.
Mr. Santiago?
Well, from my understanding, being an employee for the city, you have a budget, you present the bills, and they are supposed to be sent towards different departments. The city council has a package, and then they go into a workshop, and they look into some of these bills, which apparently I guess that's how it is. Everybody's different. Which when I was in the school board, we did that. We have a workshop. We spoke about certain budgets and what was going to be spent. And then, apparently it should go up for a vote to see if it's going to be approved or not approved. So that is my understanding. If I try to add anything else, certain people are experts on certain things and certain people are experts on other things. So that's the best answer I can give.
Mr. Thomas?
Yes, from my understanding, when you was talking about one of the first ways is through the budget. And when the council is presenting a budget, sometimes there is like expectations. Like, for example, with the auctions, they expected to make more money through the auctions, the properties, than there really was. So the budget is one way for us to able to legally spend money. Another way is through special appropriations or through emergency appropriations. So, for example, if there's an emergency situation where the city government needs to spend money, that's where it comes through the city council to vote on it as well, if it's not something that's already allocated in the budget.
Thank you. Mr. Rivera, your second question?
Yes. So, we're 9 members on the city council. I want to know, what do you bring to the table that would improve the function of this council to bring check and balance in government?
Start with Mr. Santiago.
Simple. Work as a team, work together. I can't be a one-man gang just sitting up here trying to move the city forward. is totally unbelievable. In order for us to move the city forward, we as a council have to work together. Bygones be bygones, work together, work with the mayor, with the administration. But one thing I will for sure you is it's corruption. I will expose it to the highest, to the most fullest capacity that I could ever do. Everybody's just tired. I just want to be a people's person, open door policy, take this as a full-time job, not a part-time job. And I just want to help the public. We have serious problems here. Serious. Thank you.
Could you repeat the question, Mr. Flavio? Yes.
Sure. The council has 9 board members,
Mm-hmm.
nine council members. What do you bring to the table that would improve the operation of this council?
Definitely. A few things. Even though this is my first time running for elected office, it's not my first time being involved in policies or creation of policies. For a while, I've been a community organizer, and not just a community organizer that's been out there protesting the streets, but I had the opportunity to sit down with candidates for city council, candidates for governor, and candidates for president of the United States. And they all asked me for my input about creating different policies for my platform. So I'm bringing to the city council a wealth of knowledge and the ability to draft legislation that will be able to protect the residents of Paterson. So I think that's something that is kind of missing here right now. We have the ability to not just pass a budget, but to write legislation that will protect our homeowners, protect our renters, and protect our children. And this is the type of things that I will bring to the city council in order to really move this city forward.
Thank you for the question. So as I mentioned before, I not only have a finance background, but I also have some legal training, both of which I think are extremely relevant and appropriate for the role of a city council person. Obviously, as I mentioned before, the city council is responsible for making the laws and approving the budget. I feel like as I'm uniquely skilled in both of those areas to be able to help the other city council members who may not have those particular skills or experiences to be able to understand what's being put in front of them and what's necessary going forward. Just by way of example, in my past life as a consultant for Ernst & Young, our role was to go around to Fortune 100 companies to be able to hear and understand their concerns and to be able to give back to them what our necessary plans were, what the downstream effects of those plans would be, and be able to help them implement those things in order to both understand where their costs were and to be able to reduce those costs going forward. I bring all of these experiences and more to the city council because it is a group of 9 individuals. It is a government body in which one person can't simply put forth platforms and have everything that they would like to be done. You need a majority of the vote in order to push whatever it is that you feel that the residents in your particular ward or in this or city at large need. So I've come to a bunch of city council meetings. I've watched some of them on TV, and I regularly see many times a lot of infighting that also happens on the city council. And a large part is because I don't know if all the members of the city council necessarily understand what it is their roles are or what some of the intricacies are when there's particular things that are passed. Again, these are the skills that I could be able to bring to the table to be able to help others to understand what's going on and to communicate a little bit better to be able to push what's necessary going forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Roberts.
Throughout the years, I understand that, and we all understand based on your answers, that we as the legislative body, our main objective is to enact laws, right? Create laws. But there's there's other functions also that the council serve. Based on the council meetings that you have watched and the research that you have done on past adoption of budgets, pass legislation. How do you feel about the performance of the current council, and what do you believe should be done differently?
We'll start with Mr. Thomas.
There are a few things that I think that should be done differently. As I mentioned before, that as a city council, we have the ability to draft and adopt different legislation. I think currently the city council passes a lot of resolutions, and that's great, but we need to really focus more on legislations, or ordinances rather, that will protect our residences, or protect our homeowners, protect our renters, protect our children, the most valuable assets that we have. We need to have ordinances and legislation that protect and focus on fair and affordable housing. We need to have legislation that focuses on making sure that we have a stronger local development that drives economic development here in the Paterson city. We also need strong legislation that can protect our recreation. These are just some of the things that us as a city council can take more due diligence on. The other aspect of it is the fact that when we get handed the budget, we as a city council really need to do a better job at going through these line items and forcing to the administration to amend certain items, because we have so much power that just because it's presented to us doesn't mean that we have to vote on it. And I think that we, especially as myself, who are intelligent and due diligent about this, we demand to go through these items one by one, to have the administration present to us each line item to tell us how much paper are you buying, how much does the paper cost, how much does this cost, how much does this cost, is this necessary, is there any ways that we can find something that can reduce the cost. And these are the aspects that the city council really need to start focusing on to hold the administration accountable and save taxpayer dollars.
Thank
Can you repeat the question quickly, please? I'm sorry.
you. Want to repeat the question?
I'll get right to the question. I don't have to repeat. My introduction was pretty lengthy. Basically, you've done your research, and you have witnessed through watching council meetings how the current council performs and handle its business. Do you agree with the way the council have been operating? And be specific. What should we be doing what should we be doing differently?
So, from my perspective, I think it's relatively simple, and I don't think that I'm saying anything that's rocket science or something that's not not evident to everyone. I think that the city council over the years, especially this last year, we have been dealing with a group of individuals. Everybody seems to have their own individual agendas, and there's not been a lot of cohesiveness amongst the group. I don't suggest that everyone should like each other. I don't suggest that everyone should always play well in the sandbox. But at the same time, we are at the end of the day one city, and we are at the end of the day that's representing the city of Paterson and all the individuals in it. From my perspective, it just seems that there's more infighting or more people jockeying for a position than there is actually getting things done. I think that there needs to be a little bit more cooperation. I think there needs to be more collaboration. And I think there needs to be more communication back with the residents. I don't understand why people are beholden to their individual wards when the decisions that they make affect the entire city of Paterson. I think that there should be more communication, again, with the city's residents. I believe that once I become councilman, I would like to be able to go around to the individual wards on a quarterly basis to be able to bring other council persons with me, to be able to allow the people to be able to come, express their concerns, hear what the city's plans are, and be able to have more of a podium than the 3 minutes that they get here when they come to the city council meetings. I also don't believe that everyone on the city council fully understands the things that are put in front of them, and which is obviously a major concern, and I'm not sure if that's because things have been put in front of them relatively late, or if there's just a lack of skill or knowledge base to those particular things that are put in front of them. But at the same time, if you have people on the city council that have those abilities, they should be sharing those skill sets with the rest of the council.
Thank you. You still have Mr. Mitch Santiago.
Easy. 11 more days to go. A couple of more days. Well, I can just say that throughout the years that I've been working for the city, we had some of these meetings, some, not all, but some of them has been a fiasco. I believe the Madam President that is on right now, Ms. Ruby Cotton, I think that she has done a tremendous, excellent job. So, again, credit should be given where credit is due. But I seen, ladies and gentlemen, we got some serious clowns as elected officials sitting up here thinking that they God, just because they got a title, they think they got it like that, and it just doesn't work like that. We elected to be hands-on for the people, to help the people, to try to move this city forward, to work as a team, as a government body, to bring Paterson back to what it used to be. If you look, this city, no matter what anybody says, it's a beautiful city. We have a waterfalls. Not too many cities has a waterfalls. We have a lot of history within this city, and we need to utilize it. But can I really tell you that the citizens are being treated right at times? Maybe we could work some workshops, and we don't have to have too many citizens coming in here to bring their concerns. If we had open door policies and we would be in certain offices, we can take care of those concerns and everybody wouldn't have to come up here. And that is what I'm planning to do. But meanwhile, as long as I'm an elected official and I'm sitting here, every concern means a lot to me. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Rivera. Our next candidate for the question and answer part would be Mr. Devon Roberts.
Can I begin?
I think it's the button.
Yeah, I got it.
Okay.
Okay, so I am going to ask each individual one question pertaining to their individual platform to give you a chance to expound a little bit for the public. And I will start with Mr. Santiago. You've mentioned in your opening that you worked for DPW, which has taken a lot of heat during this election and frankly over the years for the condition of the city. Now, I personally believe that there's enough blame to go around and don't think that we can place all the issues on a group that is underserved. However, being on the inside, what are your plans or desires to improve the effectiveness of the Department of Public Works?
I'm glad you asked that, because it's quite and simple. We need more equipment. We need more patch trucks. We have one sewer truck to clean up the sewers, the hatchback for 6 wards. It's ridiculous. The guys, to all fairness to them, they can't do it. We need more equipment, more trucks. We need to get some of the administrators that don't even live in this city. They have dual jobs. They haven't done nothing. We have these law firms that don't even belong here. We should just fire them, take these salaries, cut these salaries, and place them in some of these departments like the Department of Public Works in their budget so we can increase their pay, get more manpower, and enforce these laws in order for us to bring more revenue to this city. We cannot bring revenues to the city for the department that has a skeleton crew or don't have the proper equipment. I will defend that department to the highest capacity, 150%. Those are my brothers and my sisters. I was a can man for 5 years. I know what is needed. I know what they need. And if they have it, they will get the job done.
Thank you, Mr. Santiago. Next question is for Mr. Flavio Rivera. We haven't had the pleasure of seeing or hearing you at many of the debates, but it's my understanding that you are running on being well-versed in your financial literacy and stating your service on the Board of Education as evidence. First off, thank you for servicing our children in the school system for these past few years. With that said, the budget is $540+ million on any given year over the last however long. Yet, by most accounts, it still seems as if we need more funding. Can you share with the group and the city of Paterson how your tenure on the school board has helped the board become more fiscally responsible as you seek to do with the city budget, which only has half as much money?
Yeah, so first of all, at the board, I've tried and I have changed the culture of the way we do business there. There was one incident, we only have 2 minutes, but let me just share as much as possible. About a month and a half ago, I was presented, and this is the type of questions I want to see here at the City Council. We can assume the administration is doing the job. I was presented in the Finance Committee. I was presented with a resolution for us to contemplate approving to do fencing and security booth in one of the high schools. And the proposal was for 1.4. The company proposed doing the project for $1.4 million. I raised a question that normally doesn't get asked here because that's the job of the administration supposedly, but it's not just the administration. We need to hold people accountable. I asked the administration a question: how much did our engineer said that project should have cost? The answer was $457,000. $457,000. That means that if I didn't ask that question, we would have spent $1.4 million for a project that should have cost $457,000. Then, in a following meeting, because that opened a whole can of worms, because I had a lot of questions, this is what I've been doing for 14 years. My daily job, this is what I do. I asked the next question. Actually, they came at the next meeting and said that we were doing it in-house for $330,000. That saved the district $1 million. Also, when Dr. Evans, and don't forget, the district was run by the state. When Dr. Evans was there and was contemplating doing a tax increase, I told him that he needed to get rid of all those consultants that he had, and I specified which ones, because he didn't have a specific job for them to do. It was just a hookup. It was just him putting people in places because he was asked to do so by whoever in the state. So my approach is we need to have a nonsense approach, and I have contributed a lot, but 2 minutes is not enough to tell you all I have done. That's just one example. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Rivera. Last question is for Mr. Thomas. Your platform has been largely about fair and affordable housing, which is extremely important and clearly necessary. However, as you know, we have a significant issue with the budget, which levies a significant cost on the people who own the housing that you seek to impact through rent control and other tools. Many of these individuals are Paterson residents who rely on these rents in order to make ends meet. Specifically pay the costs associated with owning a home, taxes, sewer bills, general upkeep, etc. By capping the amount, it may force some of these homeowners not to be able to afford their homes and discourage investment that we desperately need. Can you share with us your plan for alleviating this burden or concern?
Well, first of all, thank you for the question. As Devon mentioned, one of the things that I'm pushing for in the Fair and Affordable Housing Policy Platform is rent control. And rent control is something that's maybe new to Paterson, but isn't new everywhere else. There's many different cities all across the United States that have been using rent control and have been tremendous results being seen. Some of the questions that you have asked are some of the same questions that have been asked in other cities, where they have first feared that homeowners and other tenants, or rather developers, will face financial strain because of rent control. And what we've seen all across the board is the opposite is the case. What we see is that with rent control, that more people are able to save their money, and when you have more disposable income, it actually helps the local economy. But the other thing as well is that the rent control, even though right now it's capped at 5%, In the New Jersey and New York area, the income for most people only goes up 2%. So if the cap is at 5% and people's income is only going up 2%, they won't be able to meet the needs of being able to stay in that particular location. And at some point in time, people will have to either relocate or be forced to evict. I think that's a serious issue, and that we as a community have to have a dialogue. So this cap isn't something that's going to be based on my ideas, but it needs to have something with a dialogue with the community. I've already had one rent control forum in the community, and I think us as a city body need to have more of concerns with the community and really gauge from them what is affordable to them, and really try to work with the community and with different landlords and developers to see what is possible to move the city forward and keep people in their homes.
Thank you, Mr. Thomas.
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Roberts. We will now have for our question and answer portion of the Council at Large candidate forum will be Juan Mitch Santiago.
Much love and respect to all the candidates. Godspeed, good luck. We all here for the same purpose. I have no question for either one of you.
Thank you, Mr. Santiago. We will now have for our Council at Large candidate forum question and answer portion, Mr. Zelly Thomas.
Okay. As already been mentioned, I'm an advocate for fair and affordable housing. There is a huge potential for development in the downtown area, especially since we have that link to the New York area. How will we be able to ensure that when development begins, because it will begin, that Patersonians can still be able to afford to live in that area? This question is for all of the candidates.
We will start with Mr. Rivera.
You mind repeating that question again?
Sure. Yes. There's going to be a lot of development in the downtown area because of the linkage to New York and because it's like prime time real estate. What will we do as a city council to ensure that this area still remains affordable for Patersonians and they don't get pushed out of this area?
I think it's a long time from coming, because I believe in order for the downtown area, we have development here for the past, we have apartments here for the past, I would say 8-9 years that have been remodeled. And a lot of people don't want to move into the downtown area because they don't feel safe. If you come here at 6 o'clock or 7, actually around 7 or 8 o'clock, it depends what time of the year. There's no nightlife. You can't walk outside by yourself. So before we start thinking, and again, you could never be prepared for what's to come, but we first have to set the stage to bring more development to downtown, and we have to address a lot of the issues, which are quality of life. A lot of ordinance need to be enforced, which are not being enforced. You have a city hall here where you have people drinking outside the city hall. And we need to lead by example. We can't ask residents out there to do things that are not being done by a governmental entity. So we have to basically set the stage for the development to come in. And then a lot of times, listen, a lot of things are out of our control. It depends all on the market. The more value the properties gain, I think we best for every homeowner that we have. We're a big city. We have approximately 22,000 units in the city. So to try to prevent growth I don't think it would be the best thing for the city, to be honest. Thank you.
Mr. Roberts.
So I kind of disagree. I think that development is a lot closer than Mr. Rivera feels, especially given what you said about the link to New York City. Now, as you know, when developers come in, they are actually incentivized by the state and federal government in order to provide affordable housing. So that comes with already a built-in incentive for them to go ahead and put some type of caps in place. We could also do, we could also try to do some type of a zoning to be able to say to these developers, look, if you want to come in and you want to be able to put whatever it is that you want to put up, you need to set aside a certain percentage of certain housing for whatever type of income we're talking about. I don't know if we necessarily need more low-income housing in the city of Paterson, but if we're talking about affordable housing and if we're some type of a rent cap, then perhaps that could be put in whatever type of ordinance that we're trying to put together in order for these developers to come in during those negotiation times. But I also wanted to point out that usually when economic development happens, usually jobs come into place. Now, if there are more jobs that are coming into the area, which obviously we desperately need given that our unemployment rate in this city is 3 times the state average, at I think 12 or 13%. Those jobs should be able to help people to have more disposable income to be able to deal with whatever increases that happen with those particular housing units. Now, with the increase in development that comes downtown would also probably likely come with increase in certain amenities that happen. What I would like to see is to be able to encourage economic development or encourage the stores that are already within any particular areas to be able to allow them to be able to do so, to make those areas more comfortable, more affordable, or continue to be affordable for the residents that are already within those areas. But the downtown area can and will be separate. We should not try to prevent growth in the downtown area, especially when the city is so cash-strapped and in a desperate need for the revenues that it could generate. So if people want to come and spend $5, $6 on a coffee, by all means, they should do so. That's going to help the city.
I'm glad you asked that question. So that shows me that you have a vision. In order for you to think that way and ask that question is because you have a vision, and I like to be part of that vision. You are absolutely correct. Downtown area is horrible. Horrible. I have gone to the Village, Manhattan, Jersey City, Newark. In order for us to help downtown, we have to have a plan, and it can't be a plan of us say, hey, I'm the man. I'm the one that is elected. I want to shine. No, the whole council has to come on board. The whole administration has to come on board. We have to bring these owners from downtown stores on board. I've been looking in certain areas in downtown, and they vacant. They totally vacant. But if we could speak to these owners and say, hey, let's bring downtown alive again. If you could fix the area and you could rent it out to certain people and a certain amount of rent, people in the city of Paterson, they're not making no money. The people here are hurting. And if you could rent these out at a certain amount of price for low income or low-income housing, you could start filling up some of these areas up in downtown, and you could bring it alive again. We could bring some revenue within the city, hire more police officers, put them, even with the mounted unit, put them in patrol in downtown, and we could just come back and bring it alive again. But we have to have a vision. But you're absolutely correct. I'm on board with you with that. If we can make it happen, we can. But we can't just have one person thinking they could do it alone. We have to do this together. We have to bring these homeowners, these businesses, these investors and say, hey, let's work together. Let's get it done for what could just in the best interest of the city of Paterson.
Thank you.
Yes. This question is for all the candidates. One of the hot topics in the governor race, New Jersey governor race, was the legalization of marijuana. And that's something that's being really talked about right now in the Senate and Assembly. A lot of towns in New Jersey have already started to ban the possibility of having weed dispensaries. When this issue comes up to Paterson, are you in favor of weed dispensaries being located here in Paterson, or will you be against it?
We will start with Mr. Roberts.
I am absolutely in favor of those dispensaries being located here in Paterson. As we just talked about in the last question, we need as many jobs as we possibly can. We need as much revenue as we possibly can. As long as we can put certain parameters around these types of businesses and make sure that we understand exactly what we're getting into before we start to commit, then I'm all for it. I don't think that we should necessarily give, 30-year tax abatements for these particular entities to be able to come into play. As a matter of fact, quite frankly, I don't even know if they would be able to qualify for those because of different state and federal laws that are out there. But the one thing that we still need to try to figure out is how are we going to improve the safety in the city? Because as you know, marijuana is still against federal law, which means that you can't deposit any money into a federal bank, which means that these entities will have large cash amounts on hand. I'm not sure any of these places would want to come to Paterson, considering that they know that we have a large safety concern. As I mentioned before, residents, including myself, have bars on their windows. How are we going to incentivize places who have large amounts of cash to be able to come to the city when most of the people who work there will probably fear for their safety? So there's a lot of things that need to happen in order for that to actually come to fruition. But to answer your question, I'm absolutely on board with any and all type of industry that would like to come into Paterson to be able to provide jobs, to provide revenue, to increase the tax base, and make this city a little bit more viable so that we can have the resources that are necessary to provide the services that the residents need.
Thank you, Mr. Rivera. Who is it? I'm sorry, Mr. Santiago.
Legalizing marijuana within the city of Paterson. What are we showing our children? What are we teaching our youth? And I know you're just asking the question because I know in your heart you're not with that program because you're a total advocate for children. I'm a total advocate for children because I was elected for the school board. What the children see is what they learn. Today is marijuana. When they can't really feel the high no more, what's next? Cocaine? Crack? I'm totally against it. We can't be having this. If people are driving within the city of Paterson, a car goes by you, and you smell the thing. A friend of mine goes, man, we got a skunk around here. I said, that's not skunk, that's marijuana. There's no skunk in downtown Paterson. You go to Eastside Park, it's marijuana haven. It's out of control right now. Who's going to enforce what? Who's going to do what? Right now, things are out of control, and we're going to bring more problems to this city to legalize marijuana? Not me standing. I will vote no. I'm totally against it. You can't have it. Can't do it. We come here to help our citizens, help our city, help our seniors. And now we want to bring marijuana. No, not me. No.
The question, we as a council don't legalize marijuana. We would have to make a determination if it would be good for the city to allow the dispensary to be in the city of Paterson. So I'm going to stay away from the topic of us legalizing marijuana because even if the dispensary is not in Paterson, it will still be legal in Paterson to consume marijuana. So to that point, I would have to see how many jobs. I got to see the pros and cons of it. I have thought about it a little bit. Seeing that the actual budget in the state is anticipating some of this legalization revenue of marijuana being in the budget. So that means they are pushing for it. If not, we're going to have a shortfall there. But I would like to see the pros and cons. It's definitely going to create some jobs. I want to see how many jobs it's going to create. And again, it's a dispensary. If you look at history, alcohol was illegal a long time ago. I personally have never consumed marijuana because I've always been a leader, never a follower. It's just a choice of my own. I never wanted to try it. You know, that's just a personal thing, but I don't hold, whoever wants to do it, that's on them, especially after it's legalized. I am not here to pass judgment on people. I'm just here to make decisions that will benefit the city and all the residents here. So it would be irresponsible in my part to just think about dollars and cents. I would like to see the pros and cons when we have a lengthy discussion as a council. And from that point on, we'll take the decision. But, this is not the only city that's going to want this dispensary. And if the opportunity comes into play, we need to look into it seriously. Thank you.
Thank you. Mrs. Ellie? Mr. Thomas, I'm sorry.
Thank you, gentlemen. The last question I have is for Flavio and Mr. Juan. The question is, we talked a lot so far about legislation and our roles as legislators on the city council. You two already have history of being legislators in the past by sitting on the Board of Education. What legislation have you personally written as a commissioner that has positively impacted teachers or the children of Paterson?
Start with me?
We'll start with you, Mr. Rivera.
Sure. When I was brought into the board, I was actually chosen by the board members. And then I got reelected by the people of Paterson. I started looking at a lot of the issues that we had regarding services that we were providing to the students. The Board of Education is not a new entity. Just like the city of Paterson, we have all the laws in the books, they just don't get enforced. So the mentality, when we decide to run for council and we look at our job description, it's interesting how some people just think that we're just here to legislate, and we're not. That means that most of the people sitting here in the city council have not done their job then, because you could ask people that have been here for 8 years how many new pieces of legislation they have brought to the table, and you could probably count them with one hand. The issue that we have in the district and the issue that we have here is not about policies in place. It's about making things that are already in place better. So as a board member, I made sure that the resources that we have in place, with the limited authority that I had, being that the state, that the district is being run by the state, we're getting local control soon, we have taken a lot of measures and demand a lot from the administration to make sure that the resources we do have are being utilized for the best interest of the kids. And that's what I'm going to do here at the City Council. I'm going to make sure, I don't mean to micromanage, but I want to make sure that I hold the administration accountable and that the ordinances we have right now in place get enforced. Each of these entities have, hundreds of years. So for us to think that we're going to come here, if the opportunity arises where new legislation needs to be, put through, then we need to do it. But right now, the issue that we have is that things that are in place are not being enforced. Thank you.
Mr. Santiago.
Well, when I first came to the to the Paterson School Board, when I first got elected there, I came there pretty gung-ho. I thought I was going to just change the world. But I had some individuals that were there. May he rest in peace, Jim Comerford. Rest in peace, Jesse Dixon. And like Dr. Hodges, Anne-Marie Vinceri, and of course, Al Moody was actually my mentor sitting there along with everybody else. That we had to work as a team. We had to do it together. But knowing that it's run by the state, there's certain things we just couldn't do. Certain things we could just bring ideas to the table, and the state would say, hey, we could fly with this. One thing was the smoking zone when I was there. The idea, we went and got the signs, and we put the smoking signs throughout the district in the city of Paterson. And if you notice, some of the teachers, they cannot smoke in front of the school. They have to go smoke in a designated area. That was our idea. I can't come here try to grandstand and say it's mine because we did it as a team. Another thing was the uniforms. We got certain people that are running for certain positions in the city. I brought the uniform ideas. No, they did not. We went to Las Vegas when the killing took place, down there in the school, me along with Chauncey Brown, Danny Vergara. We saw the children with uniforms. We said, excellent idea. We saw them with ID cards to identify the children. In Chicago, we did the same thing. And we said, hey, let's bring this to Paterson. And it was up to the state to approve. But we did it as a team. The last thing was the sniffing of the dogs within the high schools. I brought the idea because of weapons and the knives and the drugs being snuck in to use the dogs, and that they shut down.
Thank you, Mr. Thomas. Thank you, gentlemen. We will now have our closing remarks for our Council at Large candidate forum, and we will start in reverse order, and you'll have 5 minutes for your closing remarks. And we will start with Mr. Thomas.
Thank you. And thank you, gentlemen, for such a cordial forum and debate. The great leader, Cesar Chavez, once said, "You are never strong enough that you don't need help. You are never strong enough that you don't need help." Paterson desperately needs help. It's sick and it's dying. And some of our administration pretends to be that doctor that has a sick patient and doesn't see nothing wrong. We have some people on the city council and administration who may see that there's a problem, but give the wrong diagnosis. Right? I'm the type of leader that knows the issues, that will be able to see that there is a problem and give you the right remedy to heal our city, to give it restoration, and to make it great. Paterson so much desperately needs someone, that type of leadership, to protect our kids, protect our community, and protect our residents. There's so much that needs to be done, but we only can do it together. It won't be just one person, but it has to be something that's a unified effort. And when we say we're stronger together, it's just not just the city council working together. It's just not the city council and administration that has to work together, but it also has to be collaboration with you, the residents here in Paterson. We can't come up with all the ideas by ourselves, and we can't be your voice. You have your own voice. We need to listen to you, listen to your concerns, and be able to fight for you and advocate for you in order to give you the protections, in order to give you the safety that you so desperately deserve, the resources, the services that you so desperately deserve. My name is Zelly Thomas. I am that leader that we've all been waiting for. You are that leader that you all been waiting for. Together we will make the city stronger. Together we will win. On May 8th, I'm asking you to join me. I'm your brother, I'm your son, I'm your friend. I'm here for you. You will always be able to reach me, and I'll always be there just a phone call away. I'll be here at the city council making sure that we have these policies and legislation that's going to protect you and not harm you as they so desperately done. I'll be a legislator or a council person that won't ignore you. I won't neglect you because we need to change the culture here in City Hall. This is your building. This is your city. We're just your megaphone. You have a strong voice. Use that voice on May 8th to go in that ballot booth, push 1B, and vote for Zelly Thomas. And let's move the city forward together. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Thomas. We will now have Mr. Juan Mitch Santiago, please. Mr. Santiago.
Ladies and gentlemen, you know it, hands-on. We have serious problems within the city of Paterson. Not just drugs, the potholes within the city of Paterson that is Not fair to the guys with just one truck. Even prostitution. They have 3 shifts now. Before they just had 1 shift. Now they move from the first, second, and third shift. It's just bad. It's ridiculous. As my brothers and sisters, Dakota Blue, Paterson Police, we have to help them. Get the proper equipment, get the proper things, and bring task force back to Paterson like it used to be. They got dismounted. They got dismantled many years ago. Bring Paterson task force back again to clean up the city. Enforce some of these laws that we have, that we're sending out these mails, that you have a certain amount of time to clean up your sidewalk. No, you shouldn't have a certain amount of time to clean up your sidewalk. The citation should be given to you right there and then. You should know better. As your lot, the inspector sends you a letter indicating you have a certain amount of period of time to clean up your lot. No. Citation should be given in the spot. That'll start bringing revenue within this city. You're sending this citation, they come and they clean it, they just let it get dirty, you got to send them another citation. No, they know better than coming and cleaning it. The fine should be higher. If you get caught dumping garbage within the city of Paterson, and you come in and dump garbage within our city, your fine should be at least $10,000. Your vehicle should be towed, and you should be arrested and charged, and you should be placed on the newspapers itself. These fines that these dumpsters are getting, $150 when they're getting paid $800 to $1,000 pick up garbage, and they dump it in the middle of the streets. You go to the dead end on Montgomery or Godwin Ave or anywhere within the city of Paterson in the 5th, 1st Ward, anything, and they think that we a dump site? No, enough is enough. Let's fine them heavy, let's tow their vehicles, and show them that we mean serious business. Taxes are killing everyone. They're absolutely killing our seniors. They live in a fixed income. They can no longer afford it anymore. They're losing their homes. We cannot afford to be increasing our taxes within the city. I'm a person that I don't like to promise too much. Because a lot of people, sometimes I promise this, I promise that, I promise all of this. No. The only thing I can promise is I'll do the best job that I can. That's what I can promise. I can take criticism. You can let me know when I'm doing right, when I'm doing wrong. For a person to come sit up here as an elected official to think that they know it all, it is insane. I don't think it's right. I think we also should take advice from certain citizens. One person can learn from someone else. He can learn from me, or he can learn from me, and I can learn from them something. And that's how it is in order for us to move the city forward. These gentlemen that are sitting up here, out of 14 candidates, we have all treated each other with the most of respect. We haven't bashed each other. We're not here to embarrass the city. We've been staying focused to move the city forward, and we came here with a plan. So I want to commend not only the 4 that are here, but all the other ones that are running. Tremendous job. I'm 5B on the ballot. The best is yet to come. I'm on a ticket. 3A, 5B, and of course me, 11B. In the military, they say 11 Bravo. God bless everybody. Thank you for this opportunity. And please elect me to be your next city councilman at large. Juan Mir Santiago, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Santiago. We will now have closing remarks by Mr. Davon Roberts. Mr. Roberts.
Thank you. This is an important election for many different reasons. I don't believe that we can continue to do the same things over and over again and expect the same results. Look, as a resident, I'm happy that we have so many candidates who wish to represent you for the seat of council at large. I like the fact that we have options, but unfortunately, I don't believe that everybody should be running. Look, this is not a popularity contest. It's not about how how many pictures you take, or how many cookouts you've been to, what your race is, what your race isn't, what your ethnicity is, what your culture isn't. We have very serious problems in this city. These problems have been around for a very long time, and they don't seem to be going away. And I submit to you that one of those reasons is because we continuously vote based off of all of these things that don't necessarily matter. I'm coming to you today telling you that we need people who are qualified to be in these positions. It's as simple as that. Budgeting is a qualification. Understanding what the role of a councilman is a qualification. Having some type of financial acumen is a qualification. Not going to cookouts, not how many people you know, and not any of these other things that don't ever seem to matter. Yes, you should have a heart for Paterson. Yes, you should get out there and meet people and know what the issues are. But we need to understand that at the end of the day, if we're going to move the city forward, we need to have people in these seats who completely understand what these roles are. If you don't, when we have outsiders who come in and want certain abatements, who want certain laws on the books, who want certain handouts or want certain types of money in order to be able to do things in the city of Paterson, we give those things away because we don't know any better. It's no different if you go to buy a car and you have no idea what that car should cost. That salesperson could sell you anything. We need people who come into this office ready to hit the ground running. I've told you that I have my bachelor's in finance. I have my master's in business administration. I'm third year of Rutgers Law School. I have 11 years of a corporate experience. I'm a risk manager, which I'm responsible for identifying where we can cut costs, what policies and procedures need to be put in place so the company doesn't get sued, so the company doesn't lose money. We need critical thinkers here on the city council. There's a lot of things that have been lacking throughout time. And for whatever reason, we constantly are voting people in or back in that shouldn't necessarily be there. Now, I'm not saying that people need to necessarily be the nicest people in the world, because that's not, again, not a qualification. But we should be able to collaborate with the residents. We should be able to listen to each other. We should be able to understand that we don't have all the answers. But it is our role to be able to put some answers forward. We can't sit up here and say, well, we're going to go ahead and we're going to reach out to everybody in the city. There's 150, if not more, 1,000 people in this city. We can't go to each and every one of them and get an idea from everybody. Your role as a city council is to be able to understand what these constituents want, to be able to give ideas, prevent fresh ideas that are able to help the city move forward. Now, there's a lot of things that we can and we should have in the city. We should have better technology to be able to communicate with the city. The website is one of the big examples that continues to come up over and over again. We should be able to go onto the website to be able to see whatever it is that we need to see. We need to be able to click on whatever department that we need to click on to be able to get updated information. Some of that stuff hasn't been updated since 2011, 2010. If we want better collaboration with the individual wards and not having so many silos from the different ethnicities and different culture, we need to be able to put some of these events that happen all around the city on the website so that people can go and people can understand what it is that's happening around the city. That's how you create cohesion. That's how you create collaboration. Taxpayers have had an extremely difficult time over the last 10 plus years. Nobody seems to be caring about what it is that happens with these individual taxpayers, of which, yes, I am one of them, and I'm not speaking just about me. But if we're going to try to move this city forward, we have to start making this a place where people actually want to stay. And pushing them out because we constantly put so much of a burden on them financially is not the way to do that. We need to start understanding that the people who pay taxes do matter. They want services. They need to be able to alleviate some of the pressures that they have on their own financial lives. And we as a city council, we as a city need to be able to understand, and when these ideas are presented, to be able to push forward and say, well, this shouldn't happen or this should happen in order to make sure that everybody is on a fair playing field. I'm 14 beyond the ballot. Davon Roberts.
Thank you, Mr. Roberts. We will now have our closing remarks by Mr. Flavio Rivera. Mr. Rivera.
Yes, this is to the residents and voters. We have 14 14 candidates currently running for this position. And I'm sure we all have good intentions. But good intentions alone is not going to get it done. We have elected many people in the past that have good intentions. And I personally feel that this city is not moving in the right direction. I am here to present my platform and to let you know why I should be one of the 3 candidates. The main reason is we need check and balances in our form of government. People that are sitting here are making decisions on your behalf that affect you on a daily basis. And I believe that in order for me to make an informed decision, I need to understand what is being presented to me. The council as a body is just not limited to creating laws. Yes, we are the legislative branch, but under a form of government, we have other authority also that is not being fully utilized. I continue to say that we could do more as a council, and when elected, I'm going to make sure that we do more. I don't believe in micromanaging, but when you have extensive experience of seeing what's going on in our government, we need to start asking for monthly reports and holding the administration accountable. That way they know that we are looking, that we're minding the store. I often hear this council body say, we were not aware. Well, I put you in that position, and I want you to hold me accountable once you elect me, and you will never hear these words out of my mouth. And I'm going to say it today. Write it down. I would never say we were not aware. We were not aware. Because we end up paying for every time we say as a council that we are not aware. We need candidates up here. We all bring something to the table. But I'll tell you what I bring to the table that will make this body a better council body. We need candidates that understand how government works, right? There is 3 legal ways of spending money in government, which is the budget. The budget authorizes you to spend the money. That's what the budget is there for. You have the budget. You have dedication by rider, which is funds that are assigned to a specific purpose, and that was my first question here. And the third is through bond ordinances, right? Which is how you pave your roads, and if you decide to bring a recreational center, which is a shame, we're the 3rd largest city, and we don't have a recreational center for our kids. I continuously see, budget cuts left and right. And throughout the last 10 years, I continue to see budget cuts in the area of recreation. But then you see other departments being increased, and the administrations turn around and hire their friends. I'm going to be the person here that's going to question everything. I'm going to be working with the administration and the rest of the board, the rest of the council, but I'm going to make sure that when a capital budget is presented to me, when a capital plan is presented to me, I'm not just going to approve $36 million worth of bond ordinances for us to pave the roads. I'm going to ask more questions, because I remember watching these council meetings. I remember the council asking, well, where are the roads that we're going to pave? And they continuously, dance around the council. And we're not going to have that anymore. We're not. We need to focus, I'm talking to the people out there, and it's the same cry. Always the same complaints. We have dirty streets. We have homeowners that don't live in the city of Paterson, that live outside of Paterson. But you know what? Like they say here, and we got to change that culture, the stigma that we have is that anything goes in Paterson. And we got to hold those owners accountable. When we go to New York, my cousin owned a store in New York, and the first thing he used to tell his employees is that they needed to clean the front of the stores. While walking through the city, you could walk during any time during the day, and you will see mattresses outside of buildings, garbage bags everywhere, and it's not a specific time. Dirty streets, dirty properties. We, in front of City Hall, we got to hold ourselves accountable too. I remember working in these buildings for 3.5 years, and people would drink. I wonder why those benches are not in front of City Hall anymore. I remember people drinking in front of City Hall, and we have an ordinance that says that we shouldn't consume alcohol in public, right? We have the worst parks. We have our roads that are in bad shape. Why am I saying all of this? If you bring me and elect me this May 8th, I'm going to make sure that I work with the council and the administration to figure out ways to bring all those resources, because I've been trained, being the one of 2 certified municipal officers in the city, I've been trained to understand every aspect of city government. My line on the ballot is 9B. Please give me your vote of confidence, and I won't let you down. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Rivera. This will conclude our candidates forum.